Welcome to Legacy Chats, where we speak to role models about their educational and career journeys. In this episode, we are speaking with Aisha Losche, who is the Chief Diversity Officer at Draper. How are you doing, Aisha?
I'm well, how are you?
Pretty good. Let's start by you defining your job or your career, because you can do a better job of that than I can.
Sure. So really quick, good day, everyone. I'm Aisha Losche. My pronouns are she, her. I've been working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space for about 12 years. And as a chief diversity officer, my role is to ensure the organization is being proactive, as well as updating policies, procedures, and processes to be more inclusive, and to support our employees the best ways that we can from an inclusive perspective. So I partner with all of the different functions around the organization to support them in making sure their employees don't have any roadblocks. We are looking for folks to be seen and heard in different ways. So that's sometimes through our employee resource groups and celebrations. So we do a lot about the kind of the holistic employee from an inclusive lens. So it's been a really exciting ride. And I work at a national defense a nonprofit, and so we focus on national security and a lot of innovative engineering at Draper.
Amazing. That you did an incredible job of summing that up really, really quickly. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you started out in your career way back in the beginning? Like, where are you from? And specifically, what was your educational journey to get here?
Sure. So I am from Brockton, Massachusetts. It's a city south of Boston. From an educational perspective, went to a lot of small private Catholic schools up and through high school and college. Sacred Heart University is a small Catholic university in Fairfield, Connecticut, where I got my BA in business administration. Then started to work in the HR field. I was a recruiter supporting at a staffing agency, supporting a lot of financial clients. So got to understand kind of the hiring process, did interviews and then onboarding. So what does an I-9 look like? W-4s, tax form, W-2s, tax forms, all of those things I got to have an understanding with, as well as, training and employee experience. So started there, then moved into more program management, sat on site for a hedge fund as part of that organization to manage their day-to-day, some of the external things they partnered with us with, which was background checks, onboarding, um, some like training and recruitment. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And then I moved into staffing within a larger firm where I got exposed to DEI. So started partnering with employee resource groups. And so what those are different affinity groups that tie to people's identities or people who are looking to support them. And so started within our women's resource group and then proceeded to kind of build task force, update for policies, and then moved to do that for the holding company. So my company was one of the many companies that worked with. And so I moved up to the national level, was able to support their functionality for about 22,000 people. And so between that time, I also got my MBA at Curry College, which was super helpful because the more senior I was moving through different roles, I wanted to understand a little bit more about the business side. Being a support function, you don't always get the appreciation of what happens on the front end. And so wanted to make sure that I understood what was happening from a financial perspective, as well as kind of what the products or services any company I was working for was doing, so I could tie the work that I do to help support them, so we all win.
So clearly, you're an expert in project and program management, DEI, and HR side of things. Um, can you tell me a little bit about the beginning of your educational journey? So, like in high school and college, did you have a sense of like where you wanted to go and where you wanted to end up? And did school in some way shape that for you?
Yeah, so in high school, I wanted to be a teacher or social work. So that's why I went to Sacred Heart University. They had a great program there. And I got exposed to different facets of kind of how things run being in college. So in high school is a little bit more open, right? I know, in high school you get a lot of different courses. I did a lot of advanced placement courses as well, just to get some more rigor around what information was out there. But I think from a college perspective, I wasn't exactly sure. HR isn't something that my college had as like a functionality for me to learn. Diversity, equity, inclusion definitely was not a thing when I started college, and so it was really about exploring and thinking through my goals. But what's the best part about going to college or anything is that it gives you helpful skills, but they're also transferable. So, through my career, I did many things. I partnered with, to your point about program management, I was program managing and helping with an immigration team about visas and work permits. Like that was not, I did not go to school to be an immigration lawyer or do any of that, but I was able to take the skills I learned from a staffing perspective of how to manage multiple things at once, how to partner with stakeholders, how to gain information, how to make reporting. And so that's kind of how I got my niche. And so while it's important to go, through kind of more formal training from school perspective to kind of get the fundamentals, I think there's always opportunity for on the job learning and growth for people to continue to evolve as they get into the workspace.
Absolutely. I think sometimes education can be very like trade oriented and focused,
Mhm.
and sometimes we can use it to just kind of hone our critical thinking skills. That's definitely the route I took as someone who studied philosophy of all things.
Yes,
Um, but I think the message we have at Larry's Legacy is that all educational journeys are something that we can learn from for the next generation.
absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your family or background and how that shaped your career and educational decision making.
Yeah, so I am Haitian, and so my parents immigrated here in the 70s, and so education was very important to them. And so that was a huge part of my upbringing. It was, my job was school. And so that helped me kind of stay focused and want to ensure that I was doing my part of the job. With all jobs, you can have performance reviews, and in school, those are report cards. And so I really tried to do my best and bring home, my end of the bargain. I am one of three children, and so my older brothers also, were in school. But out of the, my middle brother had gone and gotten his associates in college, and so I knew I wanted to go down that same path as well, and that's why I chose Sacred Heart to go through and kind of get my bachelor's and see what that was like. Bachelor's in arts, not bachelor's in science. I knew science was not my jam through high school. Chem and physics and all of that just wasn't for me. So that was really a lot of my educational journey, and I think what helped me with my family and kind of going through the background of how to shape my career, my father really wasn't into soft skills, if you will, or HR or things like that. He was an engineer, and so he thought I needed to go into law school or to medical, kind of more kind of bigger professions, as you would think. But I think by not doing that, I've given myself a lot of flexibility
Mhm.
and been able to kind of make a career doing things as they evolve or just learn new skills. And so that's been really helpful as well.
I feel like that's a very common immigrant experience is having parents who want you to do some really, really focused kind of skill set. I'm the daughter of refugees actually, and it was very for my mom's generation, it was like, you have to be a doctor. You have to be a doctor. So
Mhm.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
Um, if you could speak to a younger version of yourself or to young people who are figuring out their work path, what would you say to them?
Explore. There's so much out there. And so don't only use your family as reference, because most of the women, if not all of my aunts, were in nursing with the exception of maybe two. And so that was kind of another path, right? So if you don't want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer, you can go be a nurse because that's what your mom does and that's what your aunt does. And I would, with the advent of the internet, there's so much more information at your fingertips and internships that are now paid. Because when back in my day, as they say, internships weren't paid, and so I didn't have the luxury of not working, and so I didn't do any internships, quite frankly, because I had to work for money. And so it's an opportunity for you to read, test things out, go even just talking to professors while you're on campus. If you're going for the higher ed route, go explore, see what's there, talk to other students. That's kind of how a business is, right? You have so many different functions within a business. And so while you're on campus, take advantage of kind of talking to all those different functionalities because there might be intersections of what you do. Like I have a dear friend who does kind of marketing finance, and so that's a whole different niche. So she didn't, get the exposure. She worked at a marketing firm. She's really good at finance, and now she's found her niche to support different organizations. So I would say definitely use your network and try to reach out to folks and see what they do and understand it a little bit more and see what fits for you. But if it doesn't fit, it's always okay to kind of take those skills and apply them somewhere else as you continue to find your home base.
I love that advice. I feel like that's the answer I'm always looking for is that young people should explore and be open, um, like even at younger than college, like in high school or even
Excellent.
middle school,
Yes.
like just like open your horizons to lots of different subjects and talk to lots of different people.
Mhm.
And the path you might take might be completely unexpected.
Right.
Um, Now, at Larry's Legacy, we're obviously very focused on diversity.
Mhm.
Um, I'd like your feedback. What do you have to say about the importance of roles like Chief Diversity Officer or DEI in general?
Yeah, I think, people question like, what do you do all day, right? Like you just there to have different parties or to, acknowledge different heritages. And that, yes, that's part of it. It's part of the overall strategy. But I spend a lot of time helping people break some of the biases that they have that are historically excluding groups of people because the systems weren't built for us to be in. And that is fact. That's not opinion. If you look back in history, people weren't allowed to be in certain spaces. And so by helping the organization, acknowledge that and then work through um, giving them the tools to be unbiased, to put together ways for us to then be able to hold people accountable for their behaviors. That is hugely important. And I think it allows for people to come into work. I know it's sometimes overused to bring your whole self at work to work. And I say that all the time. I don't want you to bring your whole self. Bring 69, 74, 83%, because some of it is me watching Real Housewives and like with my PJs on. You don't need to see that at work. So you want to be mindful about that. But I think we always have to make spaces for people to be able to have a term that has been used a lot, but maybe isn't familiar with psychological safety is around like trust and being able to fail and to be innovative. And if the organization is very, only focused on results or thinking about those types of norms, those aren't norms that all of us kind of grow up with inherently. There's a lot of different things that other people value. And so how do we create a workplace that has a mixed value system that allows everyone to kind of be able to do what they do best? And so that's kind of around the DEI lens. And I think it's always around inclusion. Everyone has an inclusive lens. I think there's some stories that people feel like they're being excluded from because they're not from an historically excluded group, but I welcome those folks into the conversation because you have a story. Everyone has their individual story. I don't speak for all Haitian American females that have or women that had this, they did not have my experience because they did not walk in my size 12 large shoes. And so I welcome people to the conversation and to really dive in and participate in the DEI work. It's not just done by the chief diversity officer or the ERGs, the employee resource groups or business resource groups, or even on campus in clubs or even in high school, your groups, right? The culture is only cultivated by as many people are actively participating in it. And so finding your way to support people and to hear and to be an advocate in any way, like that's what we need for to move us forward. So that's kind of the importance of the overall DEI or diversity lens is really for us to be better.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. Do you have any final parting words to encourage people to listen to different perspectives? What would be the basic takeaway you would give?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. So after I went and got my MBA, I went to University of Virginia and did a class there. I've gone to Cornell online and did a class there. There's always something to learn, and everyone has a story to tell. And so be willing to be open to that, to expand your horizons. If you have a very homogenous group, and this could be any of us, right? Sometimes we like to be with folks that have similar stories than to us, but we want to really expand that diversity. Go talk and meet different people that will give you new perspectives that will allow you to be able to think differently and then have you be able to perform in better ways. And so that is something that I would recommend everybody do as they move forward and navigate kind of where they want to be from as early as high school, high school, college, wherever. There's so many different opportunities that are out there that are free, that are for you, and that are opportunities for you just to expand and try something. And I think that's something that we do more of is try. I know we don't always have the equity. Like I said, like I could not take a non-paid internship, but if you do have the flexibility and the support, and now internships are paid, definitely take your time and research and do things that can help you just broaden your horizons. It's going to be helpful no matter what. No matter, even if you fail, you've learned something, and so go ahead and take that shot.
I think that's a great message, just the simple message of try, because a lot of the time I definitely do this. We stop ourselves from doing anything because we don't see the point or it's not perfect. But whether it be trying different subjects or trying different professions or internships or trying to talk to people with different perspectives than you,
Mhm.
um, we're gonna learn from our failures. We're gonna learn from the efforts we make.
Yeah, even reading different books by different authors, just expanding your aperture for information, who you follow, what you do, like different restaurants, like everything adds to like your tapestry. So definitely go and explore.
Adds to the diversity of life, if you will.
Yes, which is the spice of life, which is fantastic. Yes,
Absolutely. Okay, Aisha, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your wisdom, your story with us here at Larry's Legacy. That's what we're all about. So thank you.
of course.
Thank you so
All
much,
right,
Aisha. I'll let you
no
go
problem, Jessica. Have a great weekend.
too. Bye bye.